Spantanat Goneskui, Tinitanat Matbrium, Amo Hakrikden, it's in August, kind of like that. I was already emotional leading up to this, and then I made notes to keep myself on track, because when I get emotional, my brain kind of scatters. So along the lines of what Cece said, that to do what I was telling Caleb to do, and breathe. At Tsleil-Waututh 4 years ago, when we stood to, I will clarify emphatically, we protested nothing. We stood as protectors of ancestors, of everything that was sacred beyond 7 generations, everything that has been sacred since life has existed on this planet, and for us, that's since the first sunrise. Every piece of land, whether it's covered with concrete, a parking lot, a park, a causeway, it is sacred. It is responsible for supporting life, and all life is sacred. And at Tsleil-Waututh, that was driven home in a way that I could never explain with words. When you feel it, you know it. And I know that everyone in this room knows that feeling. And that's where I met Cece. That's where I met Mary. That's where I really finally woke up. To wake oneself up. That's what happened for me at Tsleil-Waututh. And since then, it has been the fastest upwards trajectory beyond anything that I could have ever imagined, beyond anything I would have ever imagined I deserved. Because as Caleb alluded to, a lot of what, this is something that just became crystal clear for me. On Burnaby Mountain, I think what a lot of people experienced and got to feel for themselves is how we, the First Nations, the caretakers, the Indigenous people of this land, have been treated since these governments and law enforcement agencies, and I don't say settlers because it's not everybody, but since these forms of government have been forced on us, since these organized coalitions and councils of people have been giving themselves power and authority to do their evil deeds, we have suffered. Their genocide was completely unsuccessful in its intentional goal of clearing us off the land, because make no mistake about it, as is evidenced here today, we're still here. But we have an unbelievable amount of healing to do. And the thing that surprised me at Tsleil-Waututh, the thing that surprised me in taking the UBC Hunkaminam language course, is our healing is dependent on each other. No matter what color you are, no matter where your people come from, our healing depends on our connection to each other. I see you as a human being, and up on the mountain, I only went a few times. I was raised with my grandmother, and she did all kinds of work, helping people, healing, using plants, medicines, knitting, and I saw what happens when people do different kinds of work, how sick they get, the black stuff they cough up, the migraines, the shakes, the rashes, it takes a spiritual toll. And before I even got to the mountain, I could feel that happening to me. But like Cece says, we're called. Each of us, we're called. And one night I was called, and my good friend Kathy was actually the key, the linchpin in me actually making it up that night. For days I had been getting messages of the medicines to bring to the fire and the song to sing. And I said, I can't, it already hurts. It already hurts. And I haven't even been, I can't do it. And they kept coming back and saying, bring this medicine, take this song, go. So went with Kathy, and at the bottom of the hill, I had 2 broken toes and a lung infection. Running for city council, Oppenheimer had just been taken down. I was still recovering from the trip across Canada with the coppers to break at Parliament. I had emotional upheaval in my own life. And then Burnaby Mountain. and this calling, come, bring the medicine, bring the songs. And I could see ancestors from all around the world in the bushes behind where the sacred fire was. And they had things that needed to be said. And I thought, somebody else can do this. Surely somebody else, this is work that's meant for somebody else. This can't be for me. I've never even been up there. I don't know many of those people. But no, the answer was no, go. So I go. And when I get to the yellow tape, I met with an army of men, white, privileged males, who tell me I'm not allowed to cross that line. As an Indigenous woman who has been dictated to and controlled and oppressed in many ways my entire life, I snapped. And for an hour and a half, I railed against them. For an hour and a half, the things that our ancestors would have said, but they never had the chance, came out of me. The violence that wanted to explode from my fists and my knees and my elbows and my teeth. It was raw and it was real and it overwhelmed me, and I let it take over, and they laughed at me. They encouraged me. They came off in shifts of 4. They kept rotating. And I would get closer and they were like, oh, your toe's across the line. And I'm like, oh, you don't want to know where my toe wants to be. It was so raw and it overwhelmed me, and I had to leave and I had to come back. And I made my way up, and I made my way to the zigzag fence. And I had my medicines, and that's the only thing that stopped me that day from leaving. It's the only thing that made me collect my control, is because the work that I was doing and the work that everybody else there was doing wasn't for us. It was for future generations, and for me specifically, the work I do is for past generations. I am here to represent for my ancestors who never had a voice. I'm here to represent for the women who have had their lives taken, and they even still continue to be dishonored. And I stand here, wherever I go, I bring these people with me, and it is my job, and it makes me hold myself to higher standards. It makes me carry myself in a different way. That, ironically, is where I found my peace. So I went and I found the tiniest little bit of peace, and I marched back over there, and I stood at that fence and I started singing to the fire. And I was thinking, how do I get to that fire? How do I get to that fire? And then I saw a woman come out, and it was all shadows because those huge blinding lights that they had. And she said, come over. So I stepped over the fence, and immediately 4 of them were on me, and I just turned and I just kept drumming and singing. And I just kept turning and drumming and singing, and I thought, I don't know how I'm going to stop them if they want to do something, but I am getting to that fire. I have a job to do. And I turned, and when I got closer, I saw that it was Christy Charles, and I saw her blanket wrapped. And I thought, she's going to have a baby. And look at her behind here. She has extra strength, extra power, extra connections. And they tried to stop both of us from going to the fire, but I wouldn't stop. I went. The 2 police who were inside, the RCMP who were inside, we had sacred work to do, and it was women's work. I wouldn't have to explain in a lot of circles when I say women's work, men just clear out. I went and I kettled them out, just with my drum, just the way they did to us. And I said, you have to go, you have to go, you have to go. And I wouldn't stop, you have to go now, you have to go now. And they didn't know what to do, and then they tried to come back in, and I blocked them from coming back in, and this went back and forth. This was just to get to the fire, to do the work on what is still unceded land, where they have no authority. Their authority is fictitious, and we are all aware of that, but we saw how they force this fictitious authority to gain more control and to enforce the control that they already have. So we got to do our work. We got to say our prayers. We got to do that medicine. And the notes that I made are kind of point form, not samast. We are one. And in that oneness, we have a power that I watched the speeches on Burnaby Mountain again, and it's a phrase I use often. In that power of one, we are unstoppable. The work that we did up there, and I include myself in the smallest way because I didn't spend the time that lots of people did there. I didn't I did my work from afar, but there's a beauty in the truth and the raw that happened up there, in the uniting that happened up there, in the recognition that all life is sacred, in the letting down of the walls of division that are externally enforced on us to keep us divided. Because exclusive is how they win. Inclusive is how we win. So we have the reality that the justice for the mountain, the justice for the women, the justice for what I saw in Jacob's documentary last night, it is probably one of the most powerful documentaries I've ever seen. I strongly urge all of you to watch it. I saw footage of people I know and love acting out love and hope, making changes, and in the process they were brutalized. It hurt my heart to see what happened, but as they say, it solidified my resolve. And even now more, I know we are unstoppable, because there are many levels of protocol, and the level of protocol that I am learning outside, the level of protocol that I'm learning to work with inside, there's I'm learning more of my language. I use my drum, I use my voice, and I use my teachings. And these teachings are what our protocols are based on. And I use them in the best way that I can. The work that I do from a place of really only light and love and peace, and I don't mean to ever offend anybody. And I know that we're all coming from that place, so to have time and patience, to give space, to give a little bit of compassion, and share good energy. Whether we agree with something at the moment or not, we need to take a minute and step back when we are all working on the same side. Let's not let ourselves be divided. Let's honor everyone who came to Burnaby Mountain, whether it was for a minute or if it was before the media was even involved. We need to honor and recognize every effort that was made, because every drop of that energy is what accumulated into that mountain for now being safe. We know the war isn't over, but that particular battle we can start healing from and working together in a really united way. So heads up to each of you for being here and caring.